Obviously a great win for our guys, mainly because of the deep, respect that we have for VCU. I've known Ryan a long time. We coach against each other, Division II. Ryan was at Lenore Ryan when I was at Lincoln Memorial, so we've known each other, many, many years. Coached against each other back in, 2015. And, he's an unbelievable coach. They got an elite program, and I think they're I've said this coming in, the best team we've played this year, and they're the best team we've played this year. So it's a great win because of that respect we have for them and how good they are. Proud of our guys. I thought, the game tonight, I thought we talked a lot about, competing together and competing present and trying just to, play every possession with maximum effort and toughness and concentration and that way we were going to get hit. These games to beat really good teams, you got to find a way to to compete, and you got to be incredibly resilient. And I thought every time we got punched, we just kept coming and found a way to get across the finish line. Had a lot of unbelievable individual performances, but again, great win against an outstanding team, and hopefully gives our guys a lot of confidence moving forward about that while we're not we don't have a ton of guys, we have enough, and that's been the biggest thing. We have enough to win games, and we believe that.
First thing you did was go to fans. What do you have to say to that?
Fans were amazing. I thought, I've heard a lot about atmosphere and here, and tonight was probably that was the most I felt it. Well, not the first time I felt it, because there's been other good crowds. I don't want to make it like every crowd's not been, but tonight was really like you could, our guys were feeding off the energy of the home crowd. They were into it. I think they lifted us at times. We were tired. Students were awesome. They impacted the game in a positive way. And so, I think there was, anytime you're in a scenario like that, you're playing in a game like that, you could just see we kind of, we were getting fatigued, and crowd would get into it. We make a play, and they would just kind of, wind beneath our wings there, lift us up. And we don't get through this game without them. I assure you, VCU's rolling, 11 guys out there, pressing, and we're playing, 6 or 7, and our guys are gassed, but the crowd did a great job of steadying us. And it was the inverse of what happened there. Their crowd was amazing there and really hard to deal with. And I thought our crowd was every bit as good tonight. And from what I'm told, it'll be as good or better on Friday. So I can't wait to really experience this place at its apex.
How much was the physicality dialed up
tonight? I thought we were much more physical. I thought we were much more. I mean, we got I think 70% or a little more of our defensive. They got 15 offensive boards. We got 33 defensive rebounds, which is a great number. In the second half, we were really, really good. And one of the defensive rebounds there in the free throw we knocked out of each other's hands, late. But I love that because we were going for it. Having two of our guys, I didn't love it that we didn't get it, but I loved that it was two of our guys, fighting for it. But I thought our physicality on the ball. Our defensive physicality was awesome. I thought the job that, Gibb played an amazing floor game, not just the 26 points, the job he did on Shulga, the job Kobe did on Russell, the job that Swope did on Bamasil. We changed the matchups from the first time. Gibb had Bamasil, Swope had Russell, and Kobe had Shulga. And we felt like this time there was, we could match up better that way. And I thought those guys, their defense was phenomenal on those guards. Those guards are hard to handle. And but I thought our physicality, collisions, the way we canceled ball screens, vertical contests, I thought our rebounding late where we had to make toughness plays, our noses were in there. We were making all the kind of physicality, toughness plays under the goals. When it came down to money time, crunch time, moment of truth, I thought we were, that was the best we've been all year.
Yesterday you talked about how well they turned the ball over against the opposing team. I think they had 17 turnovers on you guys tonight, and then 15 offensive rebounds to your 4. How did you guys win despite that?
Obviously the turnovers, I think we got to be better. A lot of those were, Rob had 7 and that's he's got to be better against the double teams. because they're switching and guarding him with guards, and then they're doubling him. And then we got to do a better job, honestly, his teammates do, coaches getting his teammates to do, is making the reads cleaner for him. You know, when you're getting double teamed, it seems like it should be easy, but it's the other three players, because it's 4-on-3, or other four players have to make the reads cleaner and get into windows where he can see you, the passer can see you. And so we've got to do a better job. Something we got to work on because we're seeing it a lot. But I think we won the game. You know, we held them to 32%. I thought when it came down to the crunch of the game, you know, we made tons of big plays. I thought our ability to generate quality twos. We didn't shoot the three great, but you know, we were I guess 15 for 25 from two. So, you know, 15 for 25 from two. Had some ones at the rim that we missed that I thought, you know, we had a good chance to make. But we generated quality shots, and then we stepped up, and I thought we drove the ball hard. I thought we were played with great physicality against their pressure. Got the line 39 times. And, you know, our 2-point percentage getting the line 39 times. And then I just thought our defense our defense held the fort down, because it wasn't an offensive masterpiece for sure. But the defense, you know, held the fort while everything else was struggling.
With Kobe, I'm guessing his projected role being in the season wasn't maybe a starter playing 30, 34 minutes, but his progress has to be one of the most, you know, helpful things for you guys in terms of, I mean, contributing to the offense, his defense, he rebounded tonight. He does a lot. He does a lot.
Yeah. Yes. He definitely, you know, early he was speaking and scoring at the same level. Now he's scoring and doing and impacting the game. You know, he's gotten more comfortable. Kobe's a guy that, you know, when he came here, because he's so quiet, and you don't know, like, you know, how competitive he is. And I didn't know early. Then he got hurt, and, you know, and then Joe was playing, and I didn't know what his role would be. And then obviously just with all the injuries and everything, he's become, you know, invaluable, but he really is competitive. He really is. He cares. He doesn't, you know, verbalize it or show it, but he does because his actions show it. And there's plenty of guys who talk about caring and talk about the stuff and don't do it, you know, and, you know, the old, you know, don't tell me how much you want to win, show me how much you want to win. You know, Kobe's going to show you how much he wants to win. And I thought tonight was a great example. You know, he made a couple of huge threes. I love the fact that he took 5. You know, the fact that he was willing to take 5 is great. He put some pressure on the rim. He got downhill a few times. You know, even the one he got blocked, I thought was a great drive. He tried to punch some gaps in transition. We've been trying to get him to play more aggressive. We're trying to get downhill more in general. The way people are guarding us, you know, we have to. And I thought tonight, you know, we talked about confrontational drives, is what we call them, you know, confrontational drives where you're driving. They're going to be really physical, bumping you and hitting you. And if they can knock you off your line or knock you away, ball away, you got to drive it confrontationally. Put your shoulders down, put them, you know, basically through their chest, and don't let them knock you off your line, and you go through them to the rim. And I thought he did a great job that time. He's so big and strong. And his defense on Russell, you know, Russell's really hard to guard. He canceled a ton of ball screens. His length bothered him, forced him into, you know, and Russell made some shots. He's a great player. But to hold him to 1 for 7 from 3, and, you know, I thought was fantastic. And, you know, it was just you know, his impact. He's putting his fingerprints on the game in a lot of different ways, just like Gibb is. You know, like their fingerprints are all over this game, not just the 26 and 19, but all the invisible stuff we talk about. Like they're touching the game in so many different ways.
You see, like Robbie's game tonight, doesn't score until under 5 minutes to go in the first half. He 7 turnovers, doesn't take a 3, which you probably haven't. We looked at, hasn't happened all that many times.
No. You know, I think they did a really good job. You know, that goes back to like 3-point shooting. You know, when people say, you know, you shouldn't, you know, don't take so many threes, like, you know, or you know, take more threes, or I don't know. The defense tells you, you know, like how they're going to play you, and then it's your job to then take what the defense gives you. And so, like for Robbie, you know, they were guarding him with Jack Clark, and then they were switching everything. And Jack Clark might be the hardest matchup for him because he's 6'10", he's so mobile, you know. And so we were trying to manipulate it and get him into advantageous matchups, but the advantageous matchups for him were post ups, and we got to do. I think we left a lot of points on the table in the post-ups. We got to do a really good job here in the next little bit of getting guys to, getting him better at handling those doubles, because that's really where the turnovers came. There was a couple of bad passes. Most of his turnovers were, trying to thread a needle. And I thought there was a couple of passes where, there's one late. I mean, he has a double. Kalu's in the read spot, in the low spot, and Kalu shifts, which he does. The guy sinks, Gibbs wide open opposite, throw behind the cutter, and Gibbs shooting a wide open three, and he forces it in. We got to make that. He's got to make a better read there. But there's plenty of times where I think he was looking, and our other four guys have to do a better job of making those reads clean. Like, part of the game is like you want guys to attack the rim, but guys have to have places to go with the ball if the defense collapses. And your job as a receiver is to make those reads for that offensive player as easy as possible. You want to make those, and so we've got to clean that up. But I thought he, some massive free throws. Had some big buckets when we needed them in like the last 10 minutes of the game. Got himself the line, got himself to the rim. And then I thought his defense honestly did a great job of clogging up the lane and just making things hard. There was a number of finishes where, invisible play, but vertical contests, we chart those. They're driving, getting there, and he's jumping up, and putting his chest on the guy and making him try to finish over him, and Rob's 6'10". And so I thought, wasn't his best game, and he's a perfectionist, so he'll go back and we'll watch it tomorrow. But he impacted the game, just like I'd say, his floor game, what he did to help us win was significant, but there's a lot of room for growth for him and for our team. We had way too many turnovers. Oh, go ahead.
Gibson's not a guy lacking confidence, but what can a night like tonight for him, maybe do going forward?
Well, I think it just reinforces that, like people, and I get it. People fixate on, shooting and his shooting numbers and what is it? He's 6 for 30, whatever, and this and that. Like, the thing with Gibb is like, he's playing so well. He's like I said this yesterday. He's not pressing and forcing shots. He's not tentative and losing confidence and not taking shots. And his floor game's good enough that you got to have him out there. He's defending, he's rebounding, and his gravity, when he comes off stuff, people are coming through to the ball. That's opening up those seams and creating advantages just by his presence on the floor. And so I hope it reinforces for him that he doesn't have to, make 7 threes to get 25 points. And his cutting, his off-ball movement was amazing. He got so many layups at the rim where he was getting, and there was a couple, like I said, he would tell you he left 3 or 4 on the table that he could have 32 or 34 tonight with 3 made threes. But I hope, the defense, the commitment to winning, like the things he's doing for this team, you don't do unless team success and winning really matters to you. And it's just obvious, and I wasn't here before, so I don't have any point of reference to what it was, the last, 26 years or whatever. But the point of the 21 games I've been here, like, he has developed, he didn't start that way here this year at least, and he's evolved into that, and I'm super proud of him. Just like Kobe, like, you're watching an evolution, his growth, and he'll have a chance to, as he plays like what he's doing, he'll have a chance to get in that, NBA G League 2-way level, because he's doing so much, inside the game, and then he has, the most important skill in basketball he does at the highest level.
Dylan, continue to be really solid, and he seems like he's just getting more confident. Did you drop that first one where he grabbed the defensive rebound and took the length of the court? I did tell him when he was dribbling. I said, Nova. We call it Nova for Villanova, because their guards always dribble down. So I just yelled, "I said Nova, Nova, Nova," and he turned and put his body in him. And that's the best thing he does, is he can really post. He can score with both hands. He's a bull down there. He gets fouled. He's so tough with the ball. The freshmen have to play by process of elimination, and so they have to be out there. And he's the one that is the most ready of them to play. He's got the physicality, and he's got the IQ and the competitiveness, toughness needed. He's got all the boxes. Like, most guys struggle
in the transition from high school to college to play because, either they're not physically strong enough, they don't play hard enough, or they don't understand what's going on because high school tends to be, not always, but tends to be a little more simplified than college. And usually when guys aren't playing, they check one of those boxes or sometimes all three of those boxes. He really, in all three areas, like he's physically ready to go. He's tough. He competes. He plays exceptionally hard, and his IQ, his ability to take information, apply it in real time, he's got one of the higher basketball IQs in our team. So, it's great because we need that. We need him and his minutes, and we need Amari, and we need Amari made a great pass swope for that three, and he did some good things. He made some freshman plays, some fouls, and some stuff. But Max, and we need those guys, and so it was good for them to feel it. But Dylan certainly was massive, and then you could put him in down the stretch because he's going to do the right things. He's going to make free throws. He's going to be where he's supposed to be. He's going to do the right things on offense and defense, and it's great to have him out there to help us close.
Have you ever switched two guys that many times in the last 3 minutes of a game?
I don't think I've ever seen the last 3 minutes of a game. Now there was some help there. Take that long, but I think that was the longest 3 minutes of a game that I've ever. The amount of fouling and other stuff that was going on. I don't think I've ever subbed that much, but. We wanted Kalu in for rebounding purposes, because he's our best rebounder. And obviously we wanted Dylan in, for free throws and offense. And thankfully there seemed to be a stoppage of play. There was never a possession that we couldn't sub. So it was, I don't know, I'd never seen that before.
After the LaSalle game, you talked about how even though the teams aren't guarding him closely, that Kalu can be the most dangerous guy on the court. He only took 3 shots tonight, but it felt like his impact on both sides of the ball was one of the biggest in the game. Was he doing exactly what you were talking about?
Exactly. Yeah, people are going to guard us. Everybody guards us the same way, and that's fine. But yeah, Kalu needs to be, we need to, use him as a trigger, and he needs to generate and leverage the fact they're not guarding him in a way that can help other guys. Like maybe the biggest shot of the game was where, he gets it and Gibb kind of wraps around him and he dribbles it uphill and gets Gibb that wide open three that Gibb bangs on the wing. That's because they're not guarding him, and Gibb and Swope can shoot off movement. So, if they're not going to guard you and you're hunting action, and now it's not and now he does get an assist there, but it's kind of a thankless job. But, his offensive rebounding, his cutting, his ability to generate open shots and leverage the way off-ball screening, but on-ball screening in a way that's coherent, that's going to help the offense flow so much easier. And the reality is, the way they pressure, because people don't guard him, there's always somewhere to go with the ball. He's always open. So when you get stuck, you can always just throw it to Kalu. And now you can play behind that, because he's always available. And so he needs to recognize that. And he's doing a so much better job of understanding how to do that. And I think tonight was a huge step forward, 5 assists. And most of them, I think he had a backdoor to Gibb, but most of them were in those where he's creating those actions for those guys and getting them threes coming off those dribble pitches, leveraging how they're not guarding him.
Considering such a mindset change, how helpful is it now that you have tape that you can now show him to kind of reinforce that?
Yeah, well, I think, it's huge because, it really started the VCU game the first time. And then everybody else since then has guarded us that way. And even before, I think like St. Bonaventure and other teams, guarded us similarly. LaSalle did it, obviously. But yeah, him seeing it, understanding how to get in the seams when his guy does help up, because guys aren't going to want Gibb to shoot those open shots. So they're going to rush at Gibb. And that's where now Gibbs got to leverage his gravity and throw the ball to the seam. And now Kalu's got to catch the ball in the seam, and then he's got to read as he gets vertical. Is it me? How's the defense playing me? And we've got to do a better job at letting him, playing with patience, where he's not driving and jumping to pass, but that he's driving and playing off 2 feet so he can make cleaner reads himself. All really good players are elite at stopping. And you got to be able to drive the ball at full speed, but then be able to play off 2 feet. and then that slows the game down for you to, shot fake, make reads. And so this is all growth. There's nothing he's done before, but he's doing it. He's learning in real time, and you could tell the growth game to game in terms of what he's doing. And I thought he was great defensively too. The job he did on Jack Clark, we put him on Zeb Jackson. He guarded a variety of different guys. I thought he was terrific in on the defensive end as well. I mean, we all were. I mean, to hold them, a team that good, to 32% with the level of offensive talent they have is, and when, they got 14 of those off our turnovers, and 17 off second chance. So 31 of the 69 points, they got 38 points in half-court offense over a 40-minute game. It's pretty impressive.
Kellen tonight?
Yeah, so Kellen, he and I had a discussion after the George Washington game, and I'm going to keep that conversation confidential, but to say that, he and I are totally on the same page. We're in lockstep about his situation, the best way to handle it. I've been in St. Louis for 9.5 months, I guess. I'll say this, Kellen Thame's the best person I've met in St. Louis since I've been here in 9.5 months. I love that kid. He's everything that you want your players to be. He's everything you'd want your son to be. He's everything you'd want you want your daughter to date or your son to be friends with. Obviously it's a difficult situation. For him, the circumstances are really difficult. And I'm gonna, at the end of the day, he'll tell his and talk about it when he's ready to talk about it. But for me, he and I are in lockstep. We're totally aligned with what he wants to do, how he wants to do it, how he wants to proceed, and so he's a part of everything we're doing.
Moving forward to the next games, would you like your team to be as physical like it was today against other teams that might not be as physical like VCU? Yeah,
it has to be. I mean, we have to develop that physicality. This league, all good teams, are appropriately physical. If you're physical and foul the time, that's not good. So but the best teams are appropriately physical on both ends of the floor. I think, to win high stakes games, you gotta compete your brains out. You gotta execute. And you gotta do it with unbelievable physicality. So it doesn't change. In Dayton, VCU, you go to UMass. I mean, St. Joe's. The formula of how hard you got to play, the level of physicality you got to bring, and the level of execution. That's how you win these high stake games. And our guys, we got to take this. Like I said, it's good confidence, wisdom for us. We got better tonight because of the competition. I think they pushed us to, maybe our limit, maybe even a little beyond of what we thought we could do. That's what competition does. It drives you. And now we can take that, put it in our back pocket, and know that, hey, we have the tools to be physical enough to, and that's they and UMass to me are the two most physical teams in the league. So we know we have that now, and now we got to build on it.
So is Kellen going to play?
I'll let Kellen, talk on that. But like I said, he's a part of our team. He's going to do everything that we do. There's not a person, like I said, that I've met in my time here that I respect more than that kid. And what he's been through, what he's going through, the way he's handled it. It's amazing. And he just spoke in the locker room to the guys, and it was. I've coached 17 years as head coach, 27 years total. It was the best thing I've heard a player say in the locker room after a game in my career. It was the best thing I've ever heard. So again, I'm gonna leave our conversation, his and I conversation, confidential. But he'll talk about his situation when he's ready, and we're all in behind him, support him, love him, and he's gonna be with us the rest of the way.